right. Before we start, I want to honor this man right here. I think some of you may have seen him around the building. Some of you may have seen him around the building for a long time because Luis Salas, otherwise known as Big Lou, is retiring after 47 years in this building. Indeed.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Throughout his work as a maintenance officer here, Big Lou has done just about possible to make sure that this building actually works, mechanically, that is. Most importantly, during the height of the trekking all the way in from Queens, making sure the building was clean, and for those of us who were here, make sure we were safe. So for that, thank you, and I just, on behalf of the whole system, I want to thank you, Lou, and on behalf of the whole system, I want to thank you, Lou, and I wish you all the best, and I know now you can spend your retirement painting, which is, I know, what you love to do.
And I
So
can keep on continuing to clean my apartment.
yeah.
And it was a pleasure. Man is awesome. Everyone here, the whole staff. Did my best to make everybody, definitely. And I mean it. I came here with a good attitude every day. Worked nights for many years. Came to days. Worked as an elevator operator, elevator supervisor, back to general maintenance and cleaning, and it was a pleasure, believe me, when I say it. Wow. Seriously. During the COVID days, it was kind of risky, but we did it. We did it.
You did it.
Yes.
Lou, thank you very much. Huh?
Thank you.
Take care.
That's it, okay? Thank you, everyone. Good luck. Have a good day.
All right, always better to start with nice things, right? All right, now we're going to talk about less nice things. Sorry, it's been kind of chaotic this morning, for once. Just to note that tomorrow we will have Kazumi Ogawa, the director of the UN Mine Action Service, and Paul Heslop, the UN's Mine Action Service special advisor to the resident coordinator of the UN country team in Ukraine. Both of them will be here in person, and Nick Pond, chief of the Mine Action Service for the UN Assistance Mission in UNAMA, who will join us remotely from Kabul. They'll be here to brief you on the International Day for Mine Awareness, which is observed on April 4th, and the work ongoing in Ukraine, Afghanistan, and beyond. And in a very short while, I will be joined by Jean-Pierre Lacroix, our Undersecretary General for Peace Operations, who will, of course, brief you on the situation in Lebanon. And on that, you will have seen that the statement we issued yesterday, in which the Secretary General strongly condemned the incident that took place on Sunday, resulted in the death of an Indonesian peacekeeper serving with the UN Interim Peacekeeping Force in southern Lebanon, UNIFIL. Our colleagues who died in the line of duty yesterday was Cadet Zal Rambi, and that took place in Taib. His colleague, Private Rico Pramudia, was seriously injured and is being treated in a hospital in Beirut. We extend our deepest condolences to the family, friends, and colleagues of the fallen peacekeeper, as well as to the government and people of Indonesia. We also wish a full and swift recovery to the injured peacekeeper. And as you're aware, there was another incident today in Bayan in Sector East, and where there are reports of further casualties of UN peacekeepers. At this point, we're seeking further information from our colleagues on the ground, who, as you can imagine, continue to do work in extremely challenging and dangerous conditions. Some of the injured were able to be extracted today, but we are not able to access the scene to extract two others due to the lack of security guarantees. Following coordination with the Lebanese and Israeli authorities, a team is on the way to the scene now. We will update you as soon as we have more information, but I know Jean-Pierre Lacroix will also have more information for you. As you know, UNIFIL peacekeepers have been the subject of aggressive behavior, intimidation, and threats, and this must stop immediately. Saturday, a UNIFIL convoy traveling along a coastal road near our headquarters in Nekora in Sector West was subjected to 6 warning shots fired by IDF elements stationed nearby, resulting in some small arms impact on one of our vehicles. On their way back, a Merkava IDF tank fired its main gun with the shell exploding just 15 meters from a vehicle of UNIFIL's Quick Reaction Force convoy. The vehicle suffered minor damage but was able to continue its movement. Once again, the Secretary General calls on all to uphold their obligations under international law and to ensure the safety and security of UN personnel and property at all times. Attacks on peacekeepers, as we've been saying quite a bit, is a grave violation of international humanitarian law and of Security Council Resolution 1701 and may amount to war crimes. There will need to be accountability. We urge the parties to de-escalate and immediately and fully adhere to their obligations under Resolution 1701 and to avail themselves of the existing mechanisms. On the humanitarian front in Lebanon, our colleagues on the ground tell us that attacks on healthcare are continuing at an alarming rate. According to WHO, 7 incidents were recorded over the weekend alone, killing at least 9 health workers on duty. In southern Lebanon, strikes also hit an ambulance, including vehicles transporting casualties from an early attack in Kfar Sir in Nabateh Governorate. Since the escalation began, 87 attacks on health cares have killed about 52 health workers and injured 126 others. The humanitarian resident and humanitarian coordinator and resident coordinator for the UN in Lebanon, Imran Riza, as well as the WHO representative, Dr. Abdi Nasser Abu Bakr, continue to call for the protection of health workers and health facilities and first responders, and they issued a joint statement over the weekend to that effect. We and our partners are continuing to work closely with the government to reach all people in need that we can reach. Our health partners, including WHO, have provided more than 33,500 consultations to displaced people and provided essential medicine to over 22,500 people. Once again, we stress that civilians, including humanitarian and healthcare workers, civilian infrastructure must be protected at all times, a concern made even more urgent by announcement of expanded military operations in southern Lebanon by the Israeli government. We have, turning to Yemen, I can tell you that we have consistently warned of the risk of the spillover from the conflict in the Middle East, and we're gravely concerned by the Houthis' recent decision to engage in the regional war by launching military attacks against Israel. We urge the Houthis to refrain from any further and instead engage in diplomatic and mediation efforts, particularly through the UN Special Envoy Hans Grunberg. Mr. Grunberg warned over the weekend this escalation risks drawing the country into the regional conflict, further complicating efforts to resolve the crisis in Yemen. Law, including international humanitarian law, must be respected by all parties at all times. We also underscore that Security Council 68 and related resolutions on attacks against merchant and commercial vessels must be fully upheld. We remain committed to advancing a just and sustainable peace in Yemen. This requires all parties to prioritize and further avoid entanglement in regional confrontation. And over the weekend, you will have seen that we issued a statement on behalf of the Secretary General in which he strongly condemned the drone attack carried out on March 28th on the residence of the president of the Kurdistan region of Iraq, President Nishirvan Barzani, and called for an immediate. Secretary General calls on all actors to reject violence in all its forms and to work to prevent any attempt. And turning to the occupied Palestine, our humanitarian colleagues at OCHA received reports over the weekend of airstrikes and shelling hitting residential areas in Gaza, as well as a fatal shooting by Israeli forces and other attacks by settlers in the West Bank. One incident documented by OCHA before dawn today, a Palestinian family was trapped inside their homes as Israeli settlers set fire to vehicles outside. This was in the village of Nahalin near Bethlehem, where neighbors managed to extinguish the fire and save the family. Such incidents have become frequent, and they put systematic pressure on Palestinians to leave their homes and their communities. They result in fatalities, injuries, damage, and displacement, deepening humanitarian needs. We remind all parties that civilians must always be protected. In law enforcement contexts, lethal force must be a last resort, and perpetrators of these unlawful attacks must be held to account. Meanwhile, we're also concerned about restrictions imposed on our humanitarian operations. Today, international NGOs confirmed their intention to proceed with a petition to the Israeli High Court of Justice challenging the new Israeli registration system, which further restricts their ability to operate not only in Israel but also in the occupied Palestinian territory. NGOs, as we've often said, play a critical role in the humanitarian response. In the occupied Palestinian territory, international NGOs have collectively delivered some $1 billion in assistance every year. OCHA says the prohibitive registration requirements are among several measures undermining people's access to humanitarian services. Israeli authorities must allow and facilitate rapid, unimpeded passage of humanitarian relief. They must reverse policies that obstruct humanitarian operations and ensure that humanitarian organizations are able to operate without compromising humanitarian principles. And regarding the situation I can tell you that the UN office in Somalia calls for ensuring the safety and protection of the city's civilian population. The Secretary General further calls on the federal government of Somalia and federal member states to resolve their differences through constructive dialogue. The humanitarian coordinator in Somalia, George Conway, also called for the de-escalation in the southwest state, where Baidoa is, where tensions and clashes have forced some 45,000 people to flee their homes over the last week. In a statement over the weekend, Mr. Conway urged all to uphold their obligations to protect civilians, ensure the unhindered movement of people, and guarantee safe, sustained humanitarian access. He warned that without urgent action, the humanitarian situation in Baidoa, which already hosts 430,000 uprooted people, will deteriorate further. Most displacement is from central neighborhoods of Baidoa town towards nearby villages where basic services and humanitarian assistance is limited, as you can imagine. Our humanitarian colleagues note that the southwest state has been hit hard by drought, and the ongoing insecurity is only deepening a humanitarian crisis and holding back the response. And in nearby Sudan, I can tell you that we continue to be alarmed by attacks on civilians and the growing constraints on humanitarian access across many parts. In West Kordofan, local sources report that 7 people were killed and dozens injured when an airstrike hit a funeral gathering in Payam Kasha in Nuba Mountains last Friday. Also in West Kordofan state, insecurity continues to displace families. Our colleagues at the International Organization for Migration tell us that at least 120 people were forced to flee their homes that day. In South Kordofan, drone strikes and attacks in the town of Dilling reportedly caused 3 deaths on Saturday. Local sources on the ground in Dilling also report humanitarian situation there is rapidly deteriorating. The continued strikes are disrupting critical supply routes across the Kordofan region. Key roads linking the city of El Obeid in North Kordofan to the towns of Dilling and Kadugli in South Kordofan are increasingly unsafe, which has a direct impact on hampering the movements of humanitarian supplies and commercial supplies. Red tape is further compounding these challenges, with El Obeid suspended for nearly 1 month now. In Blue Nile State, escalating hostilities near the border with Ethiopia have severely constrained humanitarian operations. Movements beyond the state capital of Ed Damazin is cutting off access to people in need there. And in Darfur, increasing insecurity and restrictions on humanitarian movements are choking humanitarian access. Aid workers faced armed robberies, they faced attacks along key routes, while some organizations have been forced to suspend operations altogether, leaving vulnerable populations with even fewer services. Despite all of these challenges, we and our partners are continuing doing our best to respond to needs across Sudan. Civilians must be protected at all times. Should be a surprise to no one, is a requirement under international humanitarian law. Attacks on civilians and essential infrastructure must stop. We reiterate that all parties must ensure rapid, safe, and unhindered and unimpeded humanitarian access along all key routes and anywhere aid is needed. Turning to Ukraine, where our humanitarian colleagues tell us that attacks over the past 3 days have resulted in further civilian casualties and damage to critical infrastructure. In the region of Odessa, a strike on March 28th killed and injured people, including a child. A maternity hospital and other facilities and more than 70 homes were also damaged. The attack on the Odessa maternity hospital was the 5th attack this year on maternity facilities supported by the UN Population Fund. Since the beginning of the year, WHO has verified 124 attacks on healthcare in Ukraine out of 357 globally. Since the start of the full 2,900 attacks on healthcare have been reported across the country. Our humanitarian colleagues note that casualties and damage to homes and civilian infrastructure were also reported in other regions, including Mykolaiv and Donetsk. And today, parts of 7 regions remain without any electricity. Aid organizations are providing medical care, psychosocial support, food, shelter, materials such as to those, and cash assistance to those impacted by the strikes. Evacuations are ongoing with hundreds of civilians relocated away from frontline areas. I also want to flag Haiti, because I know I'd been asked about the ongoing violence that we're seeing in Haiti. And I can tell you that the Secretary General strongly condemns the gang attacks that took place on the morning of March 29th in Petite Rivière in Haiti's Arbanite department. Estimates of the death toll vary, ranging from 10 to up to 80 people killed. The attack underscores the gravity of the security situation faced by the Haitian population. He urges Haitian authorities to conduct a thorough investigation. Our political mission in Haiti, BNU, is closely monitoring developments and remains fully engaged with national partners. And this morning in ECOSOC is holding its first special meeting on credit ratings, marking the implementation of another action from the Sevilla commitment agreed to at the 4th International Conference on Financing for Development, which took place in Sevilla last summer. The Deputy Secretary General, delivering remarks on behalf of the Secretary General, said that for the first time we have dedicated space bringing together member states, credit rating agencies, and investors and other key partners to address the issues of countries being priced out of the financing they need. Credit ratings should help open door to longer-term financing aligned with sustainable development, but all too often, these ratings are static and short-term oriented, based often on incomplete information, limiting countries' ability to access financing at rates that they can actually afford. The Secretary General highlighted 3 guiding principles: transforming mindsets from long-term speculation to long-term investment, recognizing that borrowing at reasonable costs to invest in development can help generate prosperity, and fostering accountability for all parties. Full remarks were shared with you. Our colleagues at the Peace Building Commission asked us to share the following with you: that the permanent representative, Omar Hilal, will undertake an official visit to the Central African Republic from the 31st to 2nd of April. He will be accompanied by members of the Peace Building Commission and the Assistant Secretary General for Peace Building. It aims to reaffirm the sustained and international support for the comprehensive implementation of the 2019 Political Agreement for Peace and Reconciliation in the Central African Republic, following the successful conclusion of the country's December 2025 presidential and legislative elections, an achievement. Today is Zero Waste Day. Every day we waste enough food for 1 billion meals, while 9% of humanity goes hungry. The Secretary General today stresses that we cannot take food for granted. It's time to build a zero-waste food system that nourishes both people and planet. Lastly, we have a quiz. One country paid up. It is home to the largest single-drop waterfall in the world by volume.
Zambia?
No, single-drop waterfall, I learned this today, is just one fall of water. Want another hint?
Yes.
It is the only country in South America with English as its official language. Guyana, very good. So we say thank you very much to our friends in Georgetown. 96 people, 96 member states. They paid $349,961, and we thank them for each and every one of those dollars. Edith Lederer.
Thank you, Steph. Does the Secretary General have anyone in Islamabad monitoring potential talks or indirect contacts between the United States and Iran?
We do not have anybody there, but the Secretary General was scheduled to speak to the Foreign Minister of Pakistan, I think, as we speak, so he'll be updated.
And one other question. Is there any update or reaction to the Secretary General's efforts to put together this task force to try and get the Strait of Hormuz open for humanitarian aid, food, and fertilizer?
Yes. So the head of UNOPS is here in New York this week, and I know we'll be meeting with a number of member states. Pam, then we'll go down the line.
Thank you. Follow-up on that question is, have you gotten reactions to the mechanism, the I don't know what we'll call it, the Strait of Hormuz reopening mechanism? Have you gotten reaction from other countries supportive of this, willing to help, anything?
I mean, you know, the Secretary General had a series of calls with ambassadors last week. I can't say there was any negative reaction. And again, as I mentioned, George Moreira da Silva is in New York this week to have more in-depth various permanent representatives.
And on P5, any reactions from France, U.S.,
I'm
Russia?
not going to go into the details
Nothing.
at this point. Ibtisam, and then sorry, and then.
Thank you, Steph. Philip Lazzarini leaving his office tomorrow. Any words, and do you have appointed somebody new?
Yes, Christian Saunders will take over as of 1st April to be the officer in charge of UNRWA. He will be based in Amman. I think he's already there, or he's on his way there. As you will recall, he had also served as the acting Commissioner General of UNRWA in 2019, and Christian has had a lot of experience at UNRWA, and we're happy that he will be officer in charge for the time being.
Why is he going to be based in Oman?
Amman.
Amman, oh, sorry.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me. Linda.
Thank you, Steph. Apropos of the, the new initiative, since it's kind of similar to the Black Sea Initiative, I guess in some ways, between Russia and Ukraine back in 2022. How complicated is this to arrange? In other words, about how long did that take to arrange? And you know what I'm saying? Is this something we're talking a week,
there is
a
no
month?
simple road get to where we want to be, but it is a road that we are going down this road with, I think, determination, and for the sake of all those who are suffering as a result of this conflict. Ms. Salome.
Thanks, Steph. Regarding the Secretary General's statement on the UNIFIL peacekeepers who were killed, it does note that the projectiles came from an unknown position, but that the peacekeepers were, quote, so is this a case of being caught in the crossfire or directly targeted?
I think all of these things will come out in investigations. I think Monsieur will have more details. But what is clear is that the position is more than well known to the parties, and we also do deconfliction when we are moving our convoys around.
So this position was known, to
Yep.
be clear, to
Yep.
the authorities.
And then I'll go to you, Namo.
I have two follow-up questions on the task force of the Strait of Hormuz. So over the weekend, Israel and Iran exchanged more rounds of strikes. Has the SG spoke to Iranian officials since the strike, current position and posture toward the initiative?
I mean, the Secretary General spoke, I think, on Friday to Iranian representatives. As for the Iranian position, I think you will have to ask them, but we are engaging with them, and we're also, I mean, our message for an end to this conflict is...
And will Iran be the hosting country to operate the strait?
Those are all questions, all of those detailed questions are far from being worked out. Namo, and then Nabil.
Thank you, Stefan. You noted in the introduction on the private residence of the Kurdistan region's president, Nechirvan Barzani. This attack makes people wonder whether Kurdistan is under an existential threat, and because it has been subjected to dozens of missile and drone attacks. And this comes at a time, like earlier
Yeah.
this month, they commemorated the 1988 Anfal
So
genocide.
sorry, we're running out of time because I need to get our guests. What is the question, sir?
The question is basically, do you believe, does the Secretary General believe the international community has a moral obligation to protect Kurdistan, the only region in the world where the Kurds have a degree of political
Okay,
autonomy?
People have, civilians need to be protected, and nothing should be done to further destabilize in a very, very worrying situation. Nabil, Zora, and then we'll close it and we'll go to our guest.
So, Stefan, how would you describe now the level of engagement maybe between the SG and the U.S. administration, or maybe the UN system in general and the U.S. administration? It seems that it has improved.
I mean, we've
And would this be translated, into financial support?
Well, I mean, we're not the one, whether it's the United States or Guyana, we're not the ones cutting the checks. So financial support, you have to talk to those who are providing the financial support. Listen, we've always had there are a number of issues in which the U.S. and the UN are cooperating and working actively, and contacts are being had. And this has been the case really since the beginning of this new administration, if that's what you're referring to. Okay, Zora, and then we'll go to Mr. Lacroix.
Hi, Steph. United States continue to threaten attacks on Iran energy facility and even seizure of Khark Island and Iran's oil. At the same time, U.S. and Israel strikes on civilian infrastructure such as power system, industrial sites, universities, and residential areas in Iran are ongoing. Such attacks would violate international humanitarian law. Would this action constitute war crime? And what concrete step is the U.S. Secretary General planning to take to stop these attacks?
Look, the Secretary General has been very vocal about speaking out against all the infrastructure, wherever they occur. The issue is not so much who does them. The fact is that if there's an attack on clearly civilian infrastructure, that is not allowed under international humanitarian law, and the Secretary General has called that out. The Secretary General wants to see an end to this conflict, a return to diplomacy. All right, I'm going to go get Mr. Lacroix, so please don't go away. Okay, d'accord. Okay.
All right. Thanks. We're very pleased to have with us Undersecretary General for Peacekeeping Operations, Jean-Pierre Lacroix, to talk about the situation in Lebanon. Mr. Lacroix, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Farhan. A very good afternoon to you. So let me give you a few elements about the recent events concerning UNIFIL. This morning, 2 Indonesian peacekeepers lost lives in an explosion that hit a UNIFIL logistic convoy, destroying their vehicle near Bani Hayan in Sector East. 2 more peacekeepers were injured, 1 seriously. The origin of the explosion has not been determined. Yesterday, a peacekeeper of the Indonesian contingent was killed in an explosion inside the UNIFIL base in Et Taib, also in Sector East. Another peacekeeper was critically wounded and was evacuated to a hospital in Beirut. I express my deepest condolences to the families of the fallen peacekeepers and the government of Indonesia, and I wish a full recovery to those injured. We strongly condemn these unacceptable incidents, and peacekeepers must never be a target. UNIFIL is investigating these incidents to determine the circumstances of these tragic developments. We also remain seriously concerned about several aggressive incidents against UNIFIL peacekeepers in the past couple of days. All acts that endanger the peacekeepers must stop. and all actors must adhere to their obligations to ensure the safety and security of the peacekeepers at all times. The inviolability of United Nations installations must be respected. Our peacekeepers remain on the ground, carrying out Security Council mandated tasks in these extremely dangerous conditions. You can imagine that they are constrained in what they do, but they continue to do whatever is possible for them to do. The women and men of UNIFIL demonstrate utmost courage and commitment to advancing international peace and security far away from home. And of course, we express our deepest appreciation to them. I reiterate the Secretary General's appeal to all sides to cease the fighting. Only the full implementation of Security Council Resolution 1701 by both parties will enable a long-term solution to the conflict. That's it from me, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now open the floor for questions. Yes, Nabil.
Mr. Lacroix, are we now, is this full-scale invasion, Israeli invasion in southern Lebanon? How would you describe the situation on the ground? And a lot of people in Lebanon are that Gaza scenario maybe will be repeated in Lebanon, at least on the humanitarian level. Similar tactics, similarity between the tactics between destroying homes and properties and villages and what happened in Gaza. And my second question is about the Syrian-Lebanese border, because the Israeli forces posted yesterday videos and pictures about an operation that crossed the borders from Syria to Lebanon. What's the impact of this new maybe situation on your operations in Golan and in Lebanon?
Thank you very much. What we have seen clearly is an increased presence of the IDF, together with the strikes, of course, in different parts of Lebanon. Now, it's difficult for me to speculate on the final intent because I cannot speak on behalf of the Israeli authorities, the IDF, certainly. I wouldn't pretend to do this, but based on what we're seeing, as well as several statements emanating from the Israeli authorities, and also the orders for evacuation of civilians, it certainly looks like we might end up with, I would call it an expanded buffer in southern Lebanon. Now, what width, what breadth, what size, what all of this, of course, is very difficult to assess. And again, it's for the Israeli to talk about what their intent is. Was already significant even before the beginning of hostilities. I mean, I toured the Blue Line in January, and as you know, I mean, there's really a string of devastated villages with, even at this moment, very few civilians left. Consequences, of course, are dramatic. But I should point out that in the UNIFIL area of operation, UNIFIL has continued to the best of their ability, and given the constraint, again, as a result of the current sort of kinetic operation going on, but they have continued to conduct regularly operations for humanitarian assistance, particularly to support the population that are left in the UNIFIL area of population. As you know, there are a number of villages where population has remained. There are also a number of movements that were basically movement of civilians who wished to, who had wanted to leave the area of operation, that have been facilitated and supported by UNIFIL in conjunction with the Lebanese armed forces. Now, in terms of the what happened at the Syrian-Lebanese border. I mean, we information, as you know, it's beyond the UNIFIL area of operation. But as you've seen, I mean, the reach of Israeli operation has gone beyond the southern Litani sector because of this in the Bekaa, in southern Beirut, and in other places in Lebanon. But that's all I can say really regarding the what happened at the Syrian-Lebanese border is obviously also an area of concern.
Okay, Farnoosh and then Nibtasam.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this briefing. Do you have a total number of UNIFIL peacekeepers that have been killed since the operation started?
Well, we had since the new the recent hostility started. We've had 3 peacekeepers killed actually. So then, I mean, these are the deaths that happened yesterday and today. In addition to injured peacekeepers, I mean, you would recall the incident that resulted in 1 Ghanaian peacekeepers quite severely injured. We visited him, Secretary General, myself. I was there in the hospital in Beirut, and today we have, I should say, 2 from the report I have severely injured peacekeeper. 1 yesterday, Indonesia. Today, another one. So obviously, we wish for a full recovery of these peacekeepers.
I mean, since UNIFIL began.
That's a different. Well, we can provide you with the exact number. I don't have them in front of me, but I can provide.
I believe the UNIFIL website does have the numbers from the start, since the start of its deployment in the 19th. Ibtisam?
Thank you. My name is Ibtisam Azim, Al Arab Al Jadid newspaper. Could you clarify why can't you, or are you investigating the incidents from yesterday to know where the fire and came from?
Yeah. We do, as always, of course, investigate. Now we cannot confirm anything at this point. What I heard from the force commander, the explosion position occupied by the Indonesian was a result of a shell. Is it mortar? Is it artillery? And who? What is the provenance? We cannot tell at this stage. And similarly today, the convoy in the explosion that affected the convoy, resulting in the killing of 2 Indonesians, we cannot tell. Is it an ID? Is it, as a result of the shelling? It's just too early to tell, but I can tell you that, of course, we do investigate all these incidents. Perhaps I could sort of elaborate beyond the question that you asked. But obviously, it is very traumatic to our peacekeepers. It's a serious concern to all of us. The troop and police, and in that case, the troop contributing countries to UNIFIL have so far demonstrated a very strong level of commitment and unity. And of course, we will do everything possible so that this level of unity, commitment, preserving what I call the UNIFIL Secretariat, UNIFIL, and the troop contributing countries, that we preserve this unity of purpose. This is a Security Council mandated operation. We have a duty to stay. Of course, the ability to operate is constrained today, but the mandate remains, and also the perspective of ultimately reaching a political solution, which is the only way in which we believe, the Secretary General has repeated that time and again, and the only way in which a durable, sustainable solution can be found for Lebanon and the region.
Can I follow up quickly on your other answer when my colleague Nabil asked you about whether you see the Israeli presence as invasion, and you said you don't want to talk about, you're not in the position to talk about intentions, but you still talked about what you called, we could get to expanded buffer zone. But isn't this actually Israeli terminology to talk about occupying part of southern Lebanon as a buffer zone?
I mean, what I can say is 2 things. What we observe on the ground, again, significantly increased presence. The the sense that, and hear from the Israeli authorities that it's leading up to buffer zone. If, to the best of my knowledge, the terminology buffer zone was not used by the Israeli authority. Again, I cannot speak for them prior to these operations. Now, again, how much, how far, how thick, it's very difficult to speculate. And again, I cannot tell about the intent myself. What we can say, though, is that we're based on Resolution 1701, right? UNIFIL has this mandate, and Resolution 1701 is also the political platform on which the durable solution of that situation is meant to be achieved. So based on Resolution 1701 and international law, I mean, it's clear that we have many violations. We have violations in terms of the strikes from south to north, also from north to south. We obviously have the presence of the IDF in Lebanon, which counts, and all the attacks against peacekeepers, similarly violations. So we have a multiplicity of violations of Resolution 1701. We, again, our appeal will be, as far as we're concerned, of course, recalling to the parties their obligations vis-à-vis peacekeepers UNIFIL. The broader appeal, which is the one that was again repeated by our Secretary General, is there cannot be a military solution. There has to be a political solution. The framework is there for a political solution. It's Resolution 1701, to which all the parties are still committed to the best of what we hear from them. The Lebanese government has made a number of very bold decisions lately. I will not elaborate on that. You are totally aware of those. And therefore, from the bigger perspective, we are really appealing for cessation of hostilities and the resumption of a dialogue leading to the implementation of Resolution 1701.
Thanks. Linda?
Thank you, Farhan. Mr. Lacroix, can you just elaborate a little bit in terms of UNIFIL from the area, I gather by the end of the year?
Right. The mandate of UNIFIL will end on the 31st of this. And as you know, the Security Council has requested us to come to the UN presence post-UNIFIL to support the implementation of Resolution 1701. That is, I'm sort of paraphrasing the Security Council. We've been working on that. We have listened to the parties. We have listened to the Lebanese, and of course, we also talked to the Israeli and to a number of stakeholders. I think it's a view that they're interested in a UN presence post-UNIFIL. We again have to listen more specifically, of course, to the concern of and three. Now, that work is quite advanced, but at the same time, we'll have to look at what what will be the new result of the current hostilities, and that is not clear. But if I look at the request from the Security Council, I mean, the implication of that request is that Resolution 1701 would not have been, the implementation of it would not have been here, which I believe is a very likely scenario. So the question is more broadly, what can we do as UN? What can the international community do to support these objectives? I keep repeating that there's only one solution. It's a political solution based on the implementation of Resolution 1701. I believe that the UN continues to have an important role to play. Of course, there's the political role played by a coordinator, Ms. Hedis Plaschert. We have colleagues, the country team, and UNIFIL until the end of the year. And then what can be most helpful to support the objective of furthering implementation of Resolution 1701, in addition to the bilateral support, other forms of support to the international community. One important aspect is support or increased support to the Lebanese armed forces. There are other aspects, of course, that are also relevant.
Okay, we'll go to Ephraim online and then to Dulcie.
Thank you so much. Just a quick follow-up on this last question. What can the UN do to support them? What does support looks like? It's not very clear from the answer. If you can elaborate, please,
Sure.
Mr. Lacroix. Thank you.
I mean, we, in the current context of hostilities, then, what we can do and what we do is threefold. First, the political ceasefire and the political solution. And the messages that were conveyed by our Secretary General in Lebanon were very much along these lines. So that's number one. Number two, the humanitarian support in many ways. I talked about what our UNIFIL colleagues do to support the civilians who remain in the south of Litani region. But of course, there's much more that is currently done by the UN with the agencies, given the number of displaced persons in Lebanon, in addition to the many refugees there. So there's a very significant humanitarian operation. And then third, what can we do as today UNIFIL, tomorrow, if anything, a remaining presence of a military nature, military observers, and perhaps several other type of military capacity to support the LAF, the Lebanese authorities, in the implementation of Resolution 1701. All of this, of course, the letter is premised under the assumption that ultimately we will have to resume, there will have to be a process resumed, political one, to implement Resolution 1701. Again, we strongly believe that there is no military solution, that the Lebanese authorities have to be supported in their stated by, or as reflected rather by the various decisions that the government made recently to implement Resolution 1701. They need to be supported to that effect, so that again we reach a political solution where the security interests of Lebanon, the security interests of Israel as well, will be taken care of and respected.
Okay, Dulcie.
Thanks very much. I just want to clarify, so how many, one peacekeeper and one was injured, is that right, in the attack?
Yesterday, right, one Indonesian peacekeepers killed yesterday and one injured, and today, unfortunately, two other Indonesian peacekeepers killed and one at least severely injured. Yes.
So the announcement says that their vehicle was destroyed. What type of vehicle were they in?
We can provide you with more on this one, I would assume, but then again that they were in an armor, probably an APC, armor personal carrier, but I don't have the specifics. We can provide you.
So it was a roadside bomb?
We can't tell. It can be a roadside bomb, can be an ID, it can be a strike. At this stage, we're investigating, but at this stage, I can't.
And have you been in touch with the IDF regarding this attack?
We are in touch with all the parties on a regular basis. The force commander is in touch with the IDF, almost every hour. That's what he told me. He is in touch with the Lebanese armed forces as well. We're in touch with the, of course, we're in touch with troop contributing countries. We are in contact with the Indonesian. Of course, I convey to them our condolences and our solidarity, and we're informing them as well about what is being done for the deceased, the peacekeepers, and the injured. So yes, absolutely. I should say that the liaison with the IDF is constant, which enables UNIFIL to deconflict an element, for example, for the resupply of position or for support to the civilian population in the area.
Okay, yes, Linda.
Is there also a permanent liaison with, is there also a permanent liaison with Hezbollah?
No, we liaise with the LAF, the Lebanese Armed Forces, and the IDF.
I see no further questions, so I would like once more to thank for Peace Operations Jean-Pierre Lacroix. Our condolences to the family members and to the government of Indonesia for their losses over these last days. And we'll try to keep you posted on these developments as they proceed. Thanks very much.